Let's look at new C# features from the last few years, starting with C# 12 and primary constructors. We've got this product class. If we wanted to bring in parameters, we'd have to create a constructor and then store them as a field. So we'll create a constructor for this. We'll pass in a parameter of ID, and we'll create a private read-only field where we'll store the data. So we'll store the ID. So we say _ID equals the ID from the parameter. But with primary constructors, what you can do is you can add the parameter as part of the class initialization. So we'd move that up to there. We could remove all of that, and then we would have the ID property throughout the class. So we can demonstrate that in this console application. So we create a new product with an ID of 9. So we create a new method called getIDNumber, and we'll return the ID, and we can print that as part of the console application. We get p.getIDNumber. What number do you expect it to be? I expect it to be 9, but let's find out. And if you can see in the corner there, it's outputted 9. It also works with dependency injection. Next feature is collection expressions. So we've got an array int, a span int, and a list int. They're all collection integers. What we can do is we can group them all into one variable. So we're going to declare it as an int array, and then we'll call it full list array. And we use the spread operator, which is the 2 dots. We can add the array int first, then we'll add the span int, and then finally the list int. So this will add these numbers first, then these numbers, then these numbers. We can also prepend and append numbers to this. So we're going to prepend 1 and we're going to append 9. And to prove this works, we're going to go through each number in the full list array and print it out to the console application. So we say a in full list array, write it out to the console application. So that's outputted the numbers. It started off with 1, so it'll be that number there. Then it goes through the array int, so that's 1, 2, and 3. Then it goes through the span int, which is 2, 4, 5, 4, 4. And then the list int, which is 4, 6, 6, 5. And then finally with the number 9. A useful feature. We're now going to look at default lambda parameters. We're going to create a lambda expression. So we call it add numbers. And we're passing 2 parameters, but one of them's going to be optional. So we're passing A, and we're going to pass in B as well. But the default value for it's going to be 1. It's just going to output A plus B. We can then invoke that to the console application. So we call addNumbers.invoke, but we're only going to pass in a parameter for A. So what do you think the value will be when we invoke the addNumbers with just one parameter? It's going to be 5 because it's taken the default parameter value of 1 for B, so it's 4 plus 1 equals 5. A small but useful feature. The last C# 12 new feature we'll look at is inline arrays. So what we do with this is we set the inline array attribute and we set the length of the array. So we're going to set it to 10. What we need is a field inside so it stores the value for each array index. So we'll store it as an integer and we can just call it _a. It doesn't really matter too much. Then to use this, we'll create a new instance of the buffer. So we create a new instance of the buffer. And then what we can do is we'll go through each index in the array. So we'll start off with 0 and then we'll loop through to 9 because there's 10 in the length, but of course it also starts with 0. So the maximum index is going to be 9. And what we can do is we can just set each one to say, I don't know, A plus 9 or something like that. And then we can just output that to the console application to see what's going to be outputted. So we'd expect the index number to be incremented by 9, and that would be outputted to the console application. And that's what's happening. Stay tuned as we'll look at C# 13 new features next. Before we look at that, just to let you know that I have a Minimal APIs for Complete Beginners course, which you can view at roundthecode.com/min1. There's also a link for it in the YouTube video description. Now let's have a look at C# 13 new features. And we'll start with params collections. Before C# 13, if you wanted to add params, it needed to be in an array. I'll demonstrate that. So we'll add the params keyword, And we'd have to have it as an array. Then we could add the parameter name in there. And what we could do is, if we wanted to add these params and return them as a list int, we'd have to call a to list. But with C# 13, there's a wide range of collections that you can use with params. So we're going to add the parameter as a list of int. And as a result of that, we no longer need the to list there. To demonstrate this in a console application, create a new instance of the product, and we can call product related IDs. And because it's params, we can add as many integers as we want. So we can add 9, 3, 4, and we can keep going, for example. A useful feature to have. We'll now look at allows ref struct. If you're using ref structs in C# 13, you can use them as generic types or methods. This product is a ref struct. We're now going to create a new class, and we're going to call it allows ref struct. I'm going to specify generic type of T, where T allows ref struct. Now to use this, we'll create a new instance of allows ref struct, and I reckon we'll be able to pass in the product as a generic type. Let's have a look. And there you go, that compiles for us. A handy new feature for ref structs. Staying with them, we're going to have a look at interfaces. Before C# 13, you couldn't implement interfaces against ref structs, but now you can. Let's create a new interface, which we'll call iProduct, and then we'll implement that against the product ref struct. There you go. Some nice additions for ref structs. Final new feature of C# 13 that we'll look at is partial properties and indexes. Partial classes are often used by source generators where they add the declaration, and then you can add your own partial class and add the implementation. So this would typically get added by the source generator. They've added it for properties and indexes in C# 13. We can mark each of these as partial, so we'll add the property as partial and also the indexer. From there we can create another partial product class. And then we need to add the declaration for each of these. So for the ID property, once again we create a public partial int of ID, but we need to add the declaration. So by default we're going to just return 3. So we've done it for the property, we now need to do it for the indexer. So once again we create a public partial int, pass in int, and for that we're just going to add the ID property like that. And that's how you set up partial indexers and properties. We'll come back to partial classes when we look at the C# 14 new features. Each .NET version has its own C# version, but as long as you've got the SDK installed for the C# version, you can use it in an older version of .NET. So this project is .NET 8, but we've got the .NET 10 SDK installed. As a result, we can use C# 14 in this project without upgrading the .NET version. We do that in the CSproj file. We set the lang version attribute, and we can set it to the C# version number, which is 14. We can also set it to latest, which is the latest version, including minor versions, latest major, which is the latest major version of C#, or default, which is the same as latest major. You just need to make sure that you've got the relevant .NET SDK installed on your machine. Looking at C# 14, the first feature we'll look at is partial constructors and events. We've changed this partial product to include a partial constructor and also an event. With our other partial product class, we need to implement them. So we're going to implement the constructor first, create a new partial constructor. We need to pass in the ID, and we're going to set it to the property that's up here. And then we need to implement the event handler as well. So to do that, we once again need to declare the partial event with a return type of event handler. It's called onIDChange. And from there, we need to add the implementation. So when we add it, we add a new event to the event handlers up here. And when we remove it, we're going to remove it from the event handlers. And that's how you add it. Plenty of new features for partial classes. We'll now look at extension members. Before extension members, you had extension methods. We have a product class with the price property. We'd add the this keyword to make it an extension method, and then we could return something like the product price like that. With extension methods, this tidies it up a bit. So we call extension and then we pass in the source, so the source is product, and then within this extension section we can add the method within it. So we'll move that into there like that. We can remove the static keyword, and we no longer need that because we're getting the product parameter from the extension. And that's just a way of tidying up. So if we were to use this, we'll create a new instance of the product, and we can call product.getPrice. And there you go. A nice feature to tidy up your code. We'll now look at the field keyword. In this product class, we're setting the discount property and we're setting the value in this private field. We're stating here that if the value is bigger than 0, we set the value, otherwise we throw this exception. But with C#14, we now have the new field property, meaning we don't need this private field anymore. We can remove that. We can also remove the reference to it in the getter, and in the setter we just add the field keyword like that. And that will do exactly the same thing. We'll demonstrate that by creating a new product, and we're going to set the discount to -1. And what do you think will happen now? We get the exception. Let's change it to 2, and now it runs fine. That's the field keyword covered. We'll now look at null conditional assignment. And this is quite a simple change. Before C#14, if you wanted to do a null conditional check, you'd have to wrap it around an if statement before you'd set a property. But with C#14, you don't need that anymore. All you need to do is you need to add the question mark operator to the left-hand side of the instance, and that will do the null check there. If it's null, it won't do anything. Whereas if you didn't include the question mark, it would throw a null reference exception. And that's the C#14 features covered. Let us know in the comments which feature you like the most. And if you want to learn more C# tips, then watch this video next. We use C#14 and .NET 10 in my Minimal APIs for Complete Beginners course, which you can view at roundthecode.com/min1. There's also a link for it in the YouTube video description. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.